Greetings, friends. Welcome to the Pin Tool Podcast. My name is Al Wayman, owner of Creek Road Pottery in Laceyville, Pennsylvania, next to the cold Tuscarora Creek. Pull up a chair around the wheel as we discuss topics concerning the art and craft of pottery, good books, storytelling, marketing, and creating work that matters for folks who care. Greetings, friends. Welcome to another episode of the Pin Tool Podcast. This is Season 2, Episode 1, and I wanted to wish everyone a happy new year. So the Tuscarora Creek is really cold today. We got snow flurries, probably about an inch of snow on the ground. Mother Nature cannot make up its mind. Just last week we had rain, beautiful weather, and now it's gone cold again. So I am sitting in front of the Big Fisher cast iron wood stove in the basement, the Mama Bear, and I have the studio door open to warm it up in there. Today I need to throw a few baking dishes, little 2-pound bread bakers or onion soup bakers for a custom order. And I also need to throw a casserole dish and a few other things. So I'm hoping to get it warmed up in there. And when we go in to have our discussion today, you can all sit around the wheel and not shiver. So some fun things have been happening at the Pottery. I was finishing up the last of the Christmas orders still because a lot of people were kind and said, hey, don't worry about it, we'll wait. So I need to get those through. And also the camera crew from the WYOU Backyard and Garden Show came to film, and that episode I believe will be airing the second or the third Saturday in January. So if you're listening to this, I'll try to get a link posted in the description of that show. I was able to talk about how pots are made, and I had a really nice interview. The ladies were a lot of fun. They came up and I didn't feel nervous at all. They set me at ease. They were very down to earth, and it was a fun time. So that was a big thing. So I got my 3 minutes of fame on television. Not ready to retire on the pots yet. But we'll see, right? We'll see. So another thing that's been happening is I've been planning for the year, and I got my new scheduler, my new Get to Work book scheduler. If you have not heard of that scheduler, it's found at gettoworkbook.com, I think. And it's a really nice scheduler. So I've been laying in some overall things, like the main shows that are going to happen here, and then filling in a few smaller things that I know for sure. And then later I'll go back in and get more detailed. But already things are filling up pretty quick for the year, which is good, and the outlook looks pretty nice. And there's a lot of things that I need to work on for sure. And one of those things is getting my timing better. So I'll be working on that. That's a huge problem I have. A lot of that is due to work and being distracted. So that's one of the things I hope to work on this year. And we all have things that we can improve on, and I hope that you've set some goals this year. So one of the topics that we're going to talk about in this episode is the hero's journey. And also we're going to touch on a little bit about if you did not schedule a journey or create a journey, or you're waiting for a journey to happen. What is that? And we're going to get into Existential Vacuum, which was discussed by the author and psychologist Victor Frankel, who wrote Man's Search for Meaning. He spent time at the Nazi concentration camps as a prisoner, and when he came out, he wrote a book, Man's Search for Meaning, and he practiced his idea called logotherapy, and he talks about the meaning of life, existential vacuum, and having a journey and going on a journey and knowing what your calling in life is if it's not all worked out already and told to you. So, hopefully the studio's warm enough and we're going to go in there. So, bring a chair, scooch up around the wheel. There should be enough room, and we're going to get started throwing some of these bakers, and we're going to talk about the hero's journey, and I believe it's a good topic at the start of the new year. So I'll meet you in there. Furthermore, we have not even to risk the adventure alone, for the heroes of all time have gone before us. The labyrinth is thoroughly known. We have only to follow the thread of the hero path, and where we had thought to find an abomination, we shall find a god, and where we had thought to slay another, we shall slay ourselves, and where we had thought to travel outward, we shall come to the center of our own existence, and where we had thought to be alone, we shall be with all the world. That is from Joseph Campbell's Hero with 1,000 Faces. If you haven't read that book, it's an amazing book. I love Joseph Campbell, and he influenced my ideas quite a bit when researching world religion and mythology. And back in the day, not too long ago, Joseph Campbell was pretty popular. So his big idea was the hero's journey, and he would make comparisons across many different cultures and belief systems and mythologies to show these comparisons and to compare and contrast heroes' journeys, which was an amazing thing to read to me. So one of the things in the new year, and a lot of times, especially in the months of January where things are winding down as creators, we might take the month off to clean our studios and get ready for the new year. But also when the days get short, you can run into a thing that I always thought was seasonal depression. However, when I look at it now, it was probably because I didn't have anything scheduled and I was not on any kind of journey. So, a lot of times, you may think that you may need to wait for some kind of journey to be shown to you. You may be looking for a burning bush like Moses out of the biblical literature. You may be waiting for a call from the great King Agamemnon, like to Odysseus out of the Iliad. Or you may be waiting for some knock on the door by the goddess Athena to Telemachus to go find his father, like in the Odyssey. So some of those things do not happen, and we spend lots of times waiting and waiting and waiting, and then we start thinking maybe we don't have a calling, or maybe we don't have a journey, simply because we didn't have anything scheduled. So that's where existential vacuum comes into play. And I wanted to read a section out of Man's Search for Meaning by Victor Frankel. And he talks about these kinds of feelings and how it can be detrimental to people who may have lost their way and are in this bog type, sluggish feeling that their lives are just bland and they don't matter and you're not really sure. And it can lead to some serious bouts of depression, especially when there is no direction. So let's talk a little bit about that. So this is on page 105 of Man's Search for Meaning. Having shown the beneficial impact of meaning orientation, I turn to the detrimental influence of that feeling of which so many patients complain today. namely the feeling of total ultimate meaninglessness in their lives. Let me turn the page here. They lack the awareness of a meaning worth living for. They're haunted by the experience of their inner emptiness, a void within themselves. They are caught in that situation, which I have called existential vacuum. So, Victor Frankel goes on to talk a little bit about what he calls existential vacuum. I'm not going to get into all that, but you can read this book. It's an excellent book. But one of the ideas that he has in scheduling a journey and the essence of existence, on page 109 of Man's Search for Meaning, he says, live as if you were living already for a second time, and as if you have acted the first time as wrongly as you are about to act now. So, in my journaling and in my scheduling books, I always put down, if I was living today a second time, what would I have done differently? And I always review that. And I always review what I was grateful for. And also, I think about how many days I may have left to kind of reflect on the end and how I want to tell my story to the world, and if I am taking time to tell that story in the way that I want it told. Because if you let it up to other people to tell your story and to give you meaning, you may not enjoy that, and it may not be the story that you want told about you, right? So I always think about how I can change that, and creating is one way that I can change that. So we're going to go over 6 things that you can do to get out of this existential vacuum, and we're gonna create a trip, right? And you can use these steps to create a trip. And I want this year, my goal, even if one person says to me, Al, I tried something new. I tried something exciting. I tried something out of my comfort zone. And this is what I learned from it. And it made me a better person for doing it. Whether it failed or whether it was successful. Because we also learn not only from our successes, but also from our failures as artists. Because as artists, we have permission to fail. This is not some corporation where you get fired for messing up. We learn through failure and success as artists. So, one of the first things that you can do is create and plan a journey. So this could be something that you could try that is new. For example, maybe try to sign up for that show that you always thought that you might want to enter. Or try to make that form that you always thought might be difficult. Or take on that custom order that you may not be all that sure about. And as long as you're putting yourself out there, you're going to learn something from it. And that journey and the journey itself will be very fulfilling, I can promise you. And it'll be more fulfilling than the actual destination. Because the event is far different than the journey or the trail or the road, right? So I guess what I'm saying is the event is one-time thing. The event is a one-time thing, but the journey goes past that, right? So this is a little deep, and I apologize for that, but I just wanted to say that we need to start thinking about not the final destination or our finished pieces or, oh, thank goodness we had that show on this day, but the process it took us to get there and actually scheduling that in and and starting. Because there isn't going to be any burning bush to tell you to take a show. There isn't going to be any burning bush to tell you to try this form. There isn't going to be any call from Agamemnon that you should take that commission. So that's something that you need to sit down and just start the plan. And once you start thinking about it, and you start planning, that is the first act towards doing. And it's the first step in 1,000 miles that you're taking, right? So number 1 would be create and plan a journey. Number 2, set a deadline. So get out your map, put a starting point and an end point. So that way you know where the end point will be, and you also can map out the trail that you're going to take and the road that you're going to take in some way. Not everything's going to be known. You may have to cut some brush and make your own trail to the destination. But it's very important to put a destination so that you definitely know that you reached it when you get there, and you can set goals along the way, and you can celebrate your achievements and also find your opportunity areas that you need to get better at. So number 3 is take the trip, work through the journey. And at this point, you're going to probably have all kinds of car trouble. You're going to have success. You're going to have failures. You're going to run out of gas. You might have to walk to the gas station. There's going to be suffering. There's going to be dips. There's going to be happy times. So working through the journey is part of the experience. And as I said before, the journey can be far more exciting than the actual destination. So you may see all kinds of beautiful things along the way. You may experience all kinds of hardships along the way. But all those things wrapped up makes you a better person and helps you tell your story that you're trying to get through into your work much, much better, because experiences come out your hands into your work, whether you want it to or not. Number 4, and this is a hard one, enjoy your sufferings if you can. So there's a great quote from the I believe it was the Odyssey of Homer, and Odysseus says, men who have traveled far and have seen much enjoy even their sufferings after a time. And that is so true. So once you're at your destination and you're looking back and you're like, man, I made it through that. What's the next journey, And also from your hardships, you learn things about yourself. You learn your boundaries. You learn maybe what not to do again. You learn about how much you can tolerate. You may learn a little bit about your processes, and you may even discover something new. Number 5. Number 5 is reflect. So once you've reached your destination, a lot of times people, once they finish a thing, they end up feeling a little bit of depression. And I remember reading Donald Miller's book, A Hero's Journey, and he talked about how he biked across America, and when they were finished, a few weeks after, he started feeling depressed. And so it's important to think about what you've accomplished, what you've learned, what your opportunity areas are, and reflect on what you just did. And once you see that pot on a kitchen table at some family's house, it's okay to say, yeah, I feel really good that I made that piece. Or maybe at your gallery opening, say, yeah, I'm really happy I was able to do this. People don't even need to show for you to say that, because this is a personal journey. You can take others with you. You can take guides with you. You can take helpers with you. You can take a community with you. So it all depends on who you want to let in, but always be sure to take time to reflect on what you just did, because without reflection, you may miss out on a lot of important growth areas that you would like to maybe learn about yourself and learn about the world around you, and learn about what your story is and what your work says about you. So, number six is schedule more. So once your journey is done, don't hang out too long, right? Schedule something else and start another hero's journey and go on that and just repeat the steps. So there are a million journeys to take, and there are a million things to do in a million different ways. So there's no need to wait for some muse to come down to knock on your door. Life is too short. And I think that even reflecting, if I live to be 86, I only have something like 3,682 days left. And what am I doing in that time? I want to be doing something that benefits maybe myself and the community around me, so that I can leave something here that I am remembered by a little bit. And I can tell my story myself rather than leaving it up to others. I don't want it to be Al worked in a factory for 35 years. He loved reading and his family, and that's it. Like, there's so much more to life. And I read the obituaries at my job at the paper factory. Some of those, I wonder if that person who passed were to tell their story, what it would be, rather than leaving it up to the company to tell the story. It's kind of morbid, but so if you're starting that journey, good for you. Go all in, do the best you can, find some good guides if you can to help you along the way, because the hero doesn't do the things by himself. Odysseus never went to fight the Trojan War by himself, and he never made it back home after 20 years out by himself. He had good people around him. A lot of times the hero makes bad decisions. He does some things that might not be all that nice to hear about, but eventually he does make it home, and if you keep moving along, you can make it home too. And always remember to take time to reflect that journey that you made and enjoy the journey itself rather than the destination, because an event is only a one-time thing. A journey lasts far longer than some finish date, right? So, be well, friends. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Happy New Year, and I look forward to bringing you more podcasts. Let me know what you think about the podcast. Let me know what you're working on if you get time. And be well, take care of yourselves and each other, and happy potting.